Hello, learners. Hope you are keeping well. Today's lesson will be on settlement geography, and we will be dealing specifically with rural settlement issues in this lesson. So let me make my screen bigger and then we can get on. So rural settlement issues is our major issue for this lesson. So as normal, let us look first at what the curriculum states and then we can get on with the lesson itself. So you will find that some of the concepts here are not foreign to you. You have done them before. In grade 9, I think it was rural urban migration, and you touched on rural depopulation. So let's get on with looking at the uh, curriculum itself. Let me get my highlighter. So the first thing we will look at is rural urban migration. Then we look at the concept of rural depopulation. We will then look at the causes and consequences of rural depopulation, specifically on people and economy. We'll also look at strategies to address rural depopulation. We'll then look at social justice issues associated with rural settlements, like access to resources and land reform. Here we will look at issues such as redistribution and restitution. Okay, this is basically in a nutshell what we will cover today. Okay, so let's get on with the lesson. So, first of all, as you've learned before, as a baseline, rural urban migration is the movement of people from rural areas to urban areas. So please note it's specifically a movement, all right? People from the rural areas go to the urban areas. Okay, now let's look at two factors that would cause this movement, all right? The push factor and the pull factor. So, what is the push factor? This is when people moving out, factors that force people out of rural areas. Out of is a very important word. People have no choice, but they want to move out. They're not happy with the rural areas, or there's certain consequences that have caused them to move, or situations. All right. Then the pull factor. These are factors that attract people out of the rural areas. All right. What's good in the urban areas that they want to go for? So push, they're not happy with the rural area, they are forced to move. Pull, what's good about the urban area that attracts them out of the rural area. Okay, so we're going to look at these factors also, because in exams, sometimes they may say, explain a push factor or explain a pull factor. All right, and you have to be more specific. You can't give general factors. So let's look at this. Let's look at the push factor, the thing forcing the people out of that. And at the same time, we look at if we can sort of match them. We will look at a pull factor, like a magnet attracting them towards the urban area. Okay, push and pull. So some of the things is like services, all right? In terms of the rural area, there's few services, whether it can be simple things like your uh, post offices, your delivery services, any simple thing you can go on. There's few, but in the urban area, there are more access to services. All right. I'll be coming back towards services again when I deal with facilities and services to give you a better idea. All right. So that's what also pushes them out. They're not happy. Even when it's religion, whatever, they find that there's less in the rural area compared to the urban area. Another big factor is lack of job opportunities. All right. And here there is better job opportunities in the urban area that pulls them from the rural area down here to the urban area. Better job opportunities. Okay. So they go there. All right. It's a big issue in many, many cases. In fact, the variety of job opportunities is even better. So I'm coming back to that lack of proper facilities or services. Example, education, all right, which is poorer in the rural area. Therefore, people move towards the urban area. Healthcare, sanitation, piped water. Remember, there's water available everywhere, but piped water through your taps, etc., there are limitations. Housing, places of worship, all right, where people take that significantly or consider important is limited, even things like that. Lack of entertainment and recreation, okay, where not much of this is found in the rural area, and it attracts people to the urban area. All right, where the facilities here are better. The facilities and the services are better. All right, in terms of quality, access, variety. Okay, there's more. Like in education, you may not even have proper schools in the rural area, but in the urban area, it's schools, it's variety of schools, it's universities, it's technicons, colleges, healthcare. You're getting hospitals, clinics, private clinics. So all these things are more available in the urban area. Just be careful, learners. If we ask you for a push factor, and if you just wrote education, it will be marked wrong. You need to say lack of educational facilities. Don't say no education. I know this seems to be a common factor. When we mark matric papers, it seems to come out as no education. There is, but it's limited or lack of. All right? Limited is also another word. In many cases, you can take each one of this as a separate factor depending on the question. Okay, if it says just generally factors that affect us, we can take things like sanitation, healthcare, etc., or the different services that affect us. Okay, but we'll do questions later. And if you look at this, poor transport links. Transport is also very important in terms of accessibility, movement, etc. But in the urban areas, there are better transport links. Other factors that may push them out is mechanization, machinery being used on farms. Therefore, they need less labor, and many people become unemployed, all right, and therefore have to move somewhere else to get employment, like the urban areas. Or natural disasters, you understand, like floods, droughts, farms close down, all right, liquidate, and then people have to move to the urban areas. Also, on the other hand, a hope for a better quality of life. People down here may not have the right quality of life that they desire because of low income, could be various issues, poverty, and they move to the urban area for a better quality of life. They are attracted. So it's a pull factor. All right. So please, you must be specific. You can't just write job opportunities. If it's a pull factor, you say better job opportunities. Okay, learners, let's go further. Now let's look at the concept of rural depopulation. All right, it refers to the decrease in the number of people found in the rural areas. All right, please note there's a difference. They are linked, but there's a difference between rural urban migration and rural depopulation. Now, one of the factors that could cause rural depopulation is rural urban migration. All right, because people move away, the numbers decrease in the rural areas. But there are other factors that could also cause rural depopulation. All right, we need to note that. We can't say it is the same. So let's elaborate on that a bit. All right, we can see here, I've taken this photograph. We can see most probably lots of the young people are gone. So we see there's just two people here, indicating that there's not many people in this rural area. All right, so the numbers are decreasing. In fact, just as a joke, there seems to be more animals than people here. All right, so let's go on. So let's look at the causes. Okay, causes of rural depopulation is obviously rural urban migration, people moving from rural areas to urban areas. Death, okay, in terms of people dying, could be viruses, could be wars, could be whatever. That would also decrease the population. And of course, your general migration, people moving away. They don't just need to move away to urban areas, they could go overseas, you understand, or to other countries on the same continent, okay, for a better life. So various factors cause this. This was a nice one that I found that was used, all right, where because people are moving away, these guys are not even unhappy. They're waiting for the city to come to them as people move to the city. And obviously, this is an example of rural urban migration, but it's also rural depopulation. All right. Consequences of rural depopulation. Remember, it also includes rural urban migration. So if you get a question where it says consequences of rural urban migration on the people and the economy, obviously of the rural area, you understand, you can give the same sort of answers, all right, if they talk about rural urban migration, because people are leaving. Okay, so please note that, learners. But yeah, our main emphasis is on rural depopulation, and rural urban migration is one of the concepts linked to rural depopulation. Okay, basically, that's a movement. So, what happens when people leave or the number decreases in the rural areas? Number one, decline in wage earners. Okay, people who are earning, generally it's more younger people that leave, not the old people. They go away, all right, and there's a decrease in buying power, decrease. So whatever facilities have been there, people have been buying, businesses have opened up, etc. It's a problem now. There's not many people to buy, so those businesses are at risk of closing down also. All right. So what we say here, dwindling population results in shops closing down as people have to reduce stock, reduce staff. Okay, some may still continue, but on a smaller scale, which is not good for the rural area, on the people and its economy. Please note this is specifically to rural area. Facilities obviously will close down. Example, your banks, your post office, because they need customers to operate. Residents have to travel now, travel greater distances for services. Okay, maybe the nearest town where they could get it, so they have to travel because in the area it has closed down. Schools closed down because if the younger people are going, they're taking the children with. Okay, so schools start to close down, or the quality of educational facilities decrease. It can't be maintained at the quality it was. All right, land value drops, so people owning land there have a problem. The value of the land drops because it's an area not in demand, and all this land value is based on that. As I said, younger and more productive people leave, resulting in an aging population. Not that older people are not productive, but they less productive as the younger people. All right, in terms of physical activity, not intelligence. I'm more in that category also, so I'm still quite intelligent. All right, so a decrease in productivity in the area. All right, less production. Ghost towns develop. Please, ghost towns is not dealing with those horror movies that you see. Ghost towns are actually, there's not much activity. The town is gone dead. All right, there's nothing happening in the town. That's what's a ghost town, because lack of investment, lack of production, all these things. Okay, obviously, together with all these factors, there's an increase in poverty. People are unemployed. There's nothing happening. Education systems tend to crash. All right, so people are not improving their quality of life. No money is coming in, so poverty will increase. The cycle of rural decline and decay sets in. It's a cycle, it gets worse. Parents don't have money. You understand? Or old people don't have money. Even if there is children, they don't have proper facilities. Okay. And if they don't have proper facilities of education and quality of life, they decline. And it further declines when they have children, etc. Okay. A decrease in use of urban resources. All right. So resources are not used to develop the economy. People are not there. There's no demand. There's no people. There's no productivity. There's no income coming. The services have closed down. There's profits. The economy does not use the resources. People don't use the resources. Okay. The cycle of poverty continues. People get poorer and poorer because there's nothing to uplift their life. Father is poor, can't give better quality of life facilities to the child. Child stays poor, his child stays poor, and his child stays poor, and just continues. All right. These are some of the consequences of rural depopulation. Actually, very, very negative. All right. I just put in this cartoon, okay, to show you this. Okay, and what do we look at here? So what's happening? This town has become like a ghost town. There's nothing happening. Can you see village shop closing down, sale for sale? People are selling their property. All services cancelled. Even at the bus stop, people are not traveling because it's become a ghost town. All right. Consequences, a nice sketch. Remember, you can get sketches in exams also, which you must use. Okay. Now we look at strategies to address rural depopulation. Of course, one of the basic things, we cannot supply it in all their lives, but to improve their quality of life, we do need to supply the basic needs. So one of the strategies of addressing rural depopulation is the provision of basic needs like your piped water, housing, electricity, education, sanitation, employment. All right, because now if people are employed, they're able to buy more and provide themselves with the basic needs. They'll be able to educate their family or their children, who will then improve their quality of life because they'll get better employment. So it's not just providing the basic needs for the rest of their life, they'll be able to provide it for themselves. Once you introduce the basic needs, they will use it and improve their quality of life in terms of then looking after themselves, becoming independent, and the cycle of poverty can be broken. All right, I've just given some things of the basic needs here. Shelter, of course, air is a basic need. We need to cut down on pollution, water, food, all right, and education, whatever. We need to introduce all those things on a proper level so that we can actually cut down on this rural depopulation also. Because on one hand, if we improve that, we must remember people may say, whoa, all these facilities are available. It may not be 100% to the urban area, but if I have these things here, and I'm quite content. I don't want to move. Okay, I don't want to move. And it may also attract people back to the area. Because people say, hey, but it's much better there than the hustle and bustle of the city. Maybe there's a little more here. I might as well move back. Okay, so basic needs is very, very important. All right, next one, let's use the assets of the rural area, like using tourism, especially things like ecotourism, etc. Also, all right, using the ecotourism, using the environment, all right, using assets of the rural area. Example, Talbach, where grapes grow, all right, we can have, and wine is popular. We could have a wine festival, all right, and attract people to the area where they also could view other assets of the area. All right, an opportunity to attract people and investment, reducing rural depopulation. So what we are saying here is have the wine festival. People come in. People also look at other things. Whoa, there's lovely accommodation here. The scenery is beautiful. Businesses say, whoa, if this area gets people in, it's nice to invest, build more hotels, restaurants. You understand? Nature conservation sites which you could visit, hiking trails, and you attract people. People go back home, talk to other people. You understand? And they come in. So using festivals, organizing of festivals, special events could attract people and they see more. You understand? In the area. Wine festivals, whatever, could be fantastic ideas. And once that comes in, more investment, more people stay, more people come back. So if you look at this, this is a food festival, all right, which is being organized here. This one is a dog festival, sheepdog trial and dog festival. All dogs welcome, all right. So you can take your dogs there if you want to. Okay, can you see that? All right, so having and organizing special events with the intent of attracting people. All right, advertising. You may have a special event, but you must advertise what you have in your area, whether it's a special event or it's things that you have in your area that people may find very interesting and may attract them. Okay, so let's look at it. Use appropriate media like television, magazines, newspapers, the internet, and advertise possible tourist attractions which will bring business into the rural areas. Obviously, as I mentioned, decreasing rural depopulation. People won't want to leave, and people that have left may be attracted back now. All right, building and renovating infrastructure relating to tourism will assist. All right, you can show, advertise them. Whoa, we have lovely networks. And I think this can be a solution on its own if you build better infrastructure. All right, people don't want to travel through areas, unless you're rich and you've got those massive 4x4s and SUVs, and you can travel on gravel roads. If you build the infrastructure in terms of transport, etc., it will assist. Also, if you build infrastructure in terms of hotels and facilities and restaurants, it will also assist to attract. So this little factor can be a factor on its own when you build these things. Okay, let's go on. GIS. This, as you can see, a map here showing you rural population. All right, where it is decreasing. If you look at the table, where it's increasing, and we can use GIS like this. All right, via spectral resolution, creating buffer zones. You understand, to say where the problems lie. All right, and what is happening over the years. Okay, so that we could look and say we need to do more here, more there, why it's happening. All right, we could highlight special areas. So GIS is increasing regarding addressing rural depopulation. We can use GIS to investigate various issues. All right, that means how many people leaving rural areas, monitoring business, monitoring physical factors such as vegetation cover, soil fertility, because sometimes people are leaving. Soil is becoming fertile. Agriculture is not working anymore. Farming, or example, farming is not working anymore. All right, we can look at all this, and then from GIS we can gather. We could also investigate the impact of water sources on rural depopulation, etc. Lack of proper water sources, not just piped water, but availability of water for farming, etc. We could investigate this. So GIS is going to play a big important part. That's why we geographers are so important, because of another factor is GIS. All right. Okay. Just a little brief thing here, which summarizes, and it's good that we actually can summarize. I just put this on here. I know we've discussed it in the lesson so far, but when you study, it's also important to create a summary. You understand, of pointers of each section and see how they related, so that it makes your study easier at the end. It's not just going back and re-going over your notes and notes and notes, and you get tired at the end. So summaries are important. Look at this. It shows you what's rural urban migration. All right. It shows you push factors, pull factors. All right. It tells you force. All right. Attract. It tells you consequences of, obviously it'll be for rural depopulation, and it can be included in rural urban migration. But remember, both are not the same concept. Can you see all those things? Empty houses, they've included crime here, okay, because farmers are left alone, there's not many people around. Unemployment, what can be done? Okay, I know we covered all this earlier, all right, but you can see that we can put it a little summary in one little document. So after you study or you've been through your notes, create a little summary for yourself, just with words, etc. It's so important, All right. So I thought I'll just put the slide in to give you an idea of some study techniques. I know we're doing live orientation all of a sudden, but it is necessary. Okay, let's look at social justice issues now. Okay, social justice issues. And one of the problems we have is access to resources. Huge problem. All right. The inequalities of the past have created this problem. We're trying to undo it, yes, and we should move further. More projects should be done. All right. But one of the factors was the apartheid era. I know we cannot use that as an excuse as going further. More needs to be done. But where black people, especially the black South Africans, were forced to live in former homelands, which had limited resources. And this is the biggest part of our problem of lack of resources. Okay, because it resulted in overutilization of resources. I know the homelands don't exist anymore, but many of those areas still have serious problems regarding access to resources. Okay, this was now a serious problem regarding access to resources. Example, piped water. All right. Okay, with our recent issues of COVID-19 and opening of schools, you'll find one of the biggest issues is proper water and sanitation facilities in many of our areas in order to make it a healthy environment, not for the virus to spread. So that's a good example that we could use. This is not uncommon. This does exist where people have to go and get water from one tap or from one pipe. You understand? I know many of us sit at home and say we need someone to just open a tap. Let me tell you, in many significant parts of South Africa, this is an issue that exists. Okay, lack of piped water as a resource. Okay, people have to carry buckets in their hands, on their heads, children moving around. Okay, Another one we looked at in our curriculum is poverty. All right? And poverty is linked to access to resources. If you don't have resources, all right, you notice that insufficient income to meet basic needs, all right, will then result in poverty. Okay, and you must remember it's inability of people to have access to resources to meet their basic needs. If they don't have the resources, they can't meet their basic needs, and therefore poverty sets in. All right, without much income, etc. And this results in people being caught in a cycle of poverty, showing in the diagram here. These people don't have much. All right, can you see it? And what future will this little child have in terms of improving his quality of life? He'll be caught in the cycle of poverty. Okay, just showing you, all right, the cycle of poverty. I've put this again here. All right, look at this. And let me take my pointer here. Poor household. So there's little food, unclean, and limited or no school. Diseases affect, no energy skills to work because of lack of school. Therefore, productivity will be low, low income or no income. Of course, emotionally, all right, there'll be low self-esteem, no personal control. Uh, Also, there'll be higher childbirths because whatever you're doing, if it's subsistence farming, you understand, you will need more family labor. The sick and elderly will be more dependence, and you go back, resulting in a poor household. And this continues. This is a cycle, an example rather, of a cycle of poverty that people are caught in due to lack of access to resources and various other factors. So poverty is another issue that we do need to handle in our country also. Okay, now possible solutions. You may get this expressed in various ways. Okay, we need to have a balance between inputs, infrastructure, in order to have sustainable development. Development, we can't look at just handouts. You know that old saying, you give a man a fish, he eats for a day, you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. So we're looking, but you have to have various things. You have to have the fish first, all right, for him to eat. Okay. Uh, so sustainable development is a longer period. You know what sustainable development? It's a longer period of time. All right. We need to look at longevity. We need to say skills we're putting that people in future can improve their lives and it can continue with their families, their children, whatever. Obviously, that's the major issue. We need to empower people to use resources available and to assist with the problem of poverty and resources. All right, we need to empower them. We need to show them skills, how to use the resources to gain income, etc., to improve. But we need to make resources available. Okay, right. So let's look at some of these inputs. You have to teach people skills. All right. Okay, so you have to build educational facilities that will teach them. Water. Okay, you can have water available, but it can spread so many diseases. Okay, so you have to create piped water of quality available to people. All right, tools and technology. Okay, you have to create technology. All right, we have to create those inputs that will allow for various things to happen. All right, in terms of machinery, etc. Okay, all of them don't match equally. All right, so I'm going to go through inputs, seeds, proper seeds, hybrid seeds that will allow plants to grow and not die during different weather conditions. Okay, those things need to be made available for people to farm. Okay, we need feed for animals. All right, people may not have the proper feed, it needs to be brought in. Remember, this has been brought in to empower the people, to allow them to farm properly. And after that, when they get quality animals and they sell, you understand, they will then get income to look after themselves. The market must be available. And this is an input because you need to attract market. You make market aware of these things so that you can sell to them. Labor must be made available. All right, that's an input. Obviously, labor now must be based on providing them the skills. Fertilizers, these are some of the examples. All right, so that better quality, more crops can be grown. Okay, but we do need the facilities, the infrastructure to allow this. All right. Uh, we may say they need skills, but if there's no schools or no universities or no agricultural colleges, how can they do it? We may say they need proper water. If we don't have piped water, what's going to happen? We say that they need to use technology, but if there's no electricity as an infrastructure, what happens? You understand? It's a problem. You can't use it. Okay, so that's the input, and we need the infrastructure. You may say we want them to be healthier, but if there's no health care, what's the problem? You can't do it. You understand? We talk about markets and sending out goods, etc. But if you don't create transport facilities, not just the roads, but trucks and whatever to move the things, then you will have a problem. So generally, communication networks must be set up. All right, whether it's internet, whether it's transport, whether it's whatever, it must be set up. We talk about health, improving the quality, sanitation facilities must be set up. All right, they've got pit toilets, they've got various things which are not the healthiest, and even those pit toilets may not be sanitized properly. We have sanitation things. So we say these are the inputs. We need those skills, but the main point here is we also need the infrastructure. You can you can tell people, hey, you buy the machinery, this, that, but you don't have the electricity supply. That is a problem. So inputs and infrastructure work hand in hand. Okay, this is what some of the possible solutions. Then there was social justice in issues. All right, that we also another social injustice, a social justice issue is land reform programs. Remember, land is a huge issue in South Africa. All right, and some land was taken away during apartheid unfairly. Okay, so land has to be redistributed in different forms, okay, where we now have land available. Remember, there must be equality between people. I know there's another issue of land expropriation without compensation that seems to be coming out now, where land can be sort of acquired and then given to people who need them. All right, but these are the three land issues that we look at. So let's look at the first thing of land reform. It was to bring about equitable distribution of land ownership, okay, and access by changing laws governing land ownership, okay, and land tenure access. Okay, so we want to change laws. Of course, the laws was changing from the apartheid era where people could just remove land, etc. Okay, and people were forced, especially black South Africans, were pushed away from many areas, or people of color. All right, so let's look at the three ways in which this program was set about. It's land redistribution. Now, what is that? When the state buys land and transfers it to landless people who cannot afford to buy it. Can you see that? All right, that's land redistribution. The state is buying the lands, all right, and giving it back. Then there's land restitution. This is restore land, and compensate individuals and communities, all right, who lost the land as a result of apartheid policies. So restore the land, give it back to them. Sometimes you cannot, all right? Let's say there's a conservation site built on that land. You cannot give it back to them. So what do? All right? You compensate them, okay, via monetary gain, etc., whatever. Then land tenure to secure rights of people living under insecure conditions on land owned by others. All right. So somebody has been living and working on farms, whatever, and they now worried. Farmer can just throw them out. But because they've been working there, say, okay, for the next 5 or 10, whatever years, no. You cannot move them out. All right. They have tenureship on that land. Okay, learners. So this was land reform, trying to create a bit of equality between people and having the land available, especially based on the past in the apartheid era where this land was taken away. Okay, now of course it's time for your questions. I chose this one because it's a bit out of the ordinary. We don't expect a question like this where something new has come in. Okay, so I liked to bring this one in and to say you need to be open regarding your questions. All right. Don't just be structured with blinkers. Things can come out in different ways, but you will be able to handle it. All right. Don't just get shocked. All right. So you must be open. You must be able to apply your knowledge in various things. All right. So let's look at this resource. Let's look at the first thing here. Water as let me get my highlighter, as a social justice issue in rural areas. So the examiner has given us a little bit of a hint here that they're dealing about the social issue, specifically water. So we have to look for that in our resource. Let's see what else it says. Water Wheel by Wello is challenging lives in rural areas. Okay, now many of us have not seen this, but let's look at this word water wheel. All right, a wheel, something that's moving with water in it. Okay, so when I look here, I see somebody pushing this. It looks like a little tank or drum, whatever, but it's a container, and we can work out that it's holding water. All right, and somebody's pushing it, so it seems to be a bit more convenient. Eh? Remember, we spoke about people carrying water in buckets. All right, and this looks like a larger container, and they're able to push it. So it seems like a solution, isn't it? That you can put a large amount of water. You don't have to carry it, okay, like the older ladies, okay, or older men. All right, I don't want to be a chauvinist, men or women. All right, it's difficult to carry. Even younger people can't carry a lot of water. So this little water wheel, they can load it and push it along the way, which is easier. All right, it seems to have a seal here also. So there won't be much spillage. Okay, so not much other information. We know it's a rural area. All right. This Vivo individual seems to be a little advert of this or reference. All right. Okay. So let's look at the questions. First one. How was water transported? And it was. Watch out, learners. We found in this sort of question that people spoke about the water wheel immediately. They didn't look at the word was. In rural areas prior to invention of the water wheel. Can you see already from the first question, because this water wheel is something new, the examiner has already given you a little hint. Invention of the water wheel. Can you see it is telling you that there's some new thing has come out and it's a water wheel carrying water. All right. Of course, wheelbarrows donkey carts on their heads, in buckets, drums, bottles. Notice a wide variety of answers because we cannot be specific in terms of expecting an answer from you. The reason being that this one actually does not have any hints on the resource itself. So you could give general answers, but generally geographically sound answers. Okay, let's go on. 442. How has the water wheel by Wello changed access to water in the rural areas? Okay, we seem to have realized it makes it better. And if you look at the answers, maybe the source looked a bit, ooh, we haven't done this before. But the work is actually very simple. You can work it out from your studies. Look at this. Transportation of water, easier and more accessible. Saves time to fetch water because you don't have to carry buckets. You can carry it in a big container, roll it, which is faster, and you got your water. More water can be collected, therefore fewer trips. All right, because now it's a larger container, you're carrying it. All right, enclosed container, less water losses. You can see there was a seal there. If you're carrying your bucket and you shake and it spills, you understand you're losing water. Yeah, it's enclosed, so more water. All right, enclosed container, fresher water. All right, no pollutants going in it as you're carrying your bucket. All right, can you see how logical you can work it? That's geography, learners. What role can the excess of water in rural areas play in reducing poverty? You can see the action words reducing. All right, now it says here increase agricultural production or assist subsistence farmers. Okay, because there'll be more water available for their farming, especially with subsistence farmers. They don't have water sources nearby. You understand? Not always the case. They do have sometimes, but it's not one of the main things. So they can get their water over. They don't have furrows to transport their water and have different canals, etc. So they have to bring water from the river to actually put it in there. All right. Even if the river is not that far away, you still have to go and fetch water and bring it in. Okay. Sustainable farming in the sense that because you got this, you can keep on farming. You understand? It's a source that you have readily water available there. Because you have water available, production improves, higher profits, less time spent in collecting water, therefore more time for schooling. I know this is a specific, you understand, to subsistence, etc. Because now what happens is that children have to do certain amount of the activity, but this can reduce it. Parents can bring in more water. Children can attend schools for a longer period of time because the chores are less or the labor is needed is less. Increase employment and generates income because now you have more water. Your production increases, so more people employed. Reduces burden of time and volume required to improve standard of living and economic viability. All right, what we're saying here is that because it reduces time, you spend less time transporting water because the volume is bringing is bigger and it's faster with the wheel. So you have more time to work, to make more products, in fact, more money, which will improve your standard of living. All right, and your economic viability is meant that your production is greater, you will definitely make more money. All right, development of home industries because now they have water available for the uh, production. They don't only need to produce for themselves, they have more time now to produce more, and more home industries are coming in where you produce more at home and you sell. Okay, let's look at the next question. Give a reason, all right, for the poor water infrastructure in rural areas of South Africa. And notice this is a nice question because the word give comes out here. And you think you just have to state Watch the mark allocation. It's 2 marks. So you have to give an explanation. And that's what you need to watch out for geography also. All right. Why is the water infrastructure? Means you pipe water to different areas, especially rural areas. Some places don't have piped water. They still rely on tanks coming in, and sometimes even there's no tanks. They rely on the water sources around them in order to boil them and use them, etc. So, of course, when we look at this, one comes out clearly the apartheid legacy, where certain areas, rural areas, especially in black communities, that were not developed, lack of funding to improve water infrastructure, lack of money available, not economically viable in sparsely populated areas. If you're going to build a lot of storage dams and lots of structure, infrastructure, taking a pipe water, sometimes it costs a lot. And in that area, there's not many people. And let's say that area is about 50 kilometers away, and there's few people living there. The cost factor, because of lack of funding, and it makes it worse, the cost factor to send water infrastructure into the area is high, and it's not economically viable to how many people it's servicing. Lack of planning and development in the rural areas. There's a lack of that where people haven't properly planned. And that seems to be one of the issues also. All right? Lack of planning at whatever level. You understand? Community, government, etc. needs to be looked at. Because if you don't plan properly, you don't realize the need or you don't have the funding. Population increase at a faster rate than infrastructure development, where there's people coming in faster than we can afford to put infrastructure in terms of the water supply. All right. Therefore, the people will have a shortage of proper water facilities. Poor maintenance on existing infrastructure. Obviously, if you don't maintain, they're going to break down. If there's a tap leaking, etc., or your pipes are burst, you need to maintain them in your house. Otherwise, you're not going to get proper water beside a high water account. All right. Mismanagement of funds by government, where it was allocated for this but used for something else, or the price was skyrocketed and you could only do a few because of certain corruption. Boreholes not accessible. They privately owned. Boreholes are built by farmers. They're not going to give it to everybody. Most farmers, some farmers are generous, they will, but it's only for them. Theft of water infrastructure, which is another problem. With electricity, it's copper wire. Yeah, pipelines are taken, etc., and the water facility is not working effectively. Not enough qualified people to maintain water infrastructure. Can you see that? We need more skills that people can maintain, and we need to teach people. Focus placed on urban areas and industrial development. Another huge thing. We focus more on industrial development because we feel it's going to bring in more money, and on the urban areas and less on the rural areas. We see it in all structures, whether it's education, whether it's whatever. But that's where our focus goes. Diversion of water resources, moving them somewhere else. You understand? And not bringing it to the areas. Sometimes through water projects is brought in, but it's diverted, furrows, projects, whatever. Poor, cheap quality materials maintain water infrastructure. This is another problem in South Africa in all aspects, whether it's low cost housing, etc. Poor, cheap quality materials. Therefore, it's put up. Maybe it's still charging the high prices, and the materials break easily, and people all of a sudden, over a short period of time, don't have proper water facilities or infrastructure. Then the next question is, write a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, and I always say it's approximately 8 lines, suggesting sustainable solutions to improve access of water to rural areas. Remember, watch out, sustainable, not just solutions. Solution could be give them water for the day. Just bring a tank and just give them. All right. That may not be a total solution that is sustainable, that goes over a longer period of time. Just be careful. This is where in geography we're looking at the action words, all right, that will help us to answer, because if you just gave something that's not sustainable, you're not going to get marks for it. So look at the sustainable options. The infrastructure needs to be developed. Can you see, similar to the last question? All right. So pipe water to homes, that's a sustainable. Don't just supply water, build proper infrastructure so it goes. Build and upgrade more dams to store water. So long-term solution. Can you see it? It helps over the long term. Install more JoJo tanks, all right, where you can have storage of water, and JoJo tanks have a long lifespan, so you can store water. Digging more boreholes to tap groundwater. All right, the borehole is a infrastructure that's there. Okay, can last a long time. You have it there. You can get your water. Encouraging recycling, and I do apologize for that, encouraging recycling of grey water, all right, water that has been used, recycling it, using it to actually uh, supply water to the crops, etc. Filtration of polluted water, all right, filter them so they can be reused. Reverse osmosis to produce clean water, all right, where you remove all those pollutants, etc. Government allocating more funds to secure clean water, all right, allocating more funds to secure clean water, all right, because sometimes it's a fund problem. We don't have the funds, so government in their budgets must be able to secure more. Utilize interbasin water transfer schemes where there is a lack of water. Now, you know already that in, in grade 11, you had the water transfer schemes where you moved water like the Val Tugela, where the water was moved from the Tugela River to the Val River. Okay, so water was moved in that way. So Tugela River has a lot of water supply. It moves to the Val River, and it can supply areas. So using interbasin water transfer schemes where supply areas with a lack of water. Upgrading and maintenance of existing water networks. These are all sustainable, learners, because you can, if you upgrade, it lasts a longer period of time. Okay, and if you maintain them also. Educate in wise usage, definitely sustainable. Educate people that they don't waste water, they use it wisely, will allow our sources to last for a longer period of time. Improve farming practices to promote infiltration, all right, of water in drip irrigation, where water drips instead of just flooding the area and using a lot of water that is not needed, and we have more flowage on the surface or more runoff on the surface. Let's use proper things. I know drip irrigation, where you have those little uh, areas where the water just drip down pipes, you understand, and therefore it's a certain amount of water being put in. Use organic fertilizers to prevent pollution of water, because that's another one where if you use those fertilizers that carry major chemicals, it pollutes the water, reducing the quality and amount of good quality water. Improve catchment management systems. Remember, you did this in geomorphology. See, there's a link here where we manage the system, catchment area better. There's less runoff, there's less erosion, more natural areas, you understand, which will maintain the quality of the water. Recharge aquifers to maintain groundwater. You've learned already aquifers are areas that can absorb and keep the water supply in the area. So recharge them, put in water supply so that you have water supply that you could dip into, all right, for future use. Remove alien toxic vegetation, all right, to reduce the usage of water. Lots of alien vegetation come in and they use more water. They may put in more chemicals that could be toxic for us, because alien vegetation does not belong to the specific area in which it is. It's come from somewhere else, all right? And they may use up water, so remove them. Less water use, less toxins. improved irrigation techniques to save water. I think one of them I used was drip irrigation. All right. Don't just flood your thing with water. Okay. Maybe allow for more infiltration in that way. So, new methods that would allow for less water usage, but still allow for production. Subsidizing, all right, the wellow water wheel. I think that's an important point because you may create the water wheel, but some people may not be able to afford it, or many people. So subsidize it so that it becomes cheaper and people can afford. So one question, just the water wheel, has allowed us to ask so many things. Well, learners, I hope this section on rural settlement issues has become clearer to you. Uh, you keep well and enjoy your rest of your day. All the best.